Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call the Town of Cedar Lake Plan Commission work session for November 1st, 2023 to order. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mr. Carnahan is absent. Mr. Foreman?
He's online.
Mr. Hunley?
Here.
Ms. Fetzauer? Present. Mr. Sharp is absent. Mr. Parker?
Here.
Mr. Kapora?
Present.
Mr. Oliphant?
Here.
Mr. Austin?
Present.
Ms. Abernathy? Present. Ms. Hyduk is present.
Mr. Carnahan is not going to be here?
I hadn't heard anything otherwise. He was in today, did not say anything about not being present.
Okay.
Were you able to hear me say present?
No.
Hi, John.
Okay. Hi, guys.
Okay, item number 1, Harvest Creek preliminary plat extension. Owner petitioner Diamond Peak Group LLC, 1313 White Hawk Drive, Crown Point, Indiana. Vicinity of 9210 West 155th Avenue, Cedar Lake, Indiana. Hi.
Good evening. My name is Michael Herbers with Diamond Peak Group, 1313 White Hawk Drive. Again, I'm here this evening requesting an extension for our primary plat. Again, this was approved back in February, earlier this year. Still working on getting a few permits shored up. Unfortunately, in this day and age, it's not that cheap to develop a new neighborhood, so we're still working through, of course, bidding the project out, trying to make it more feasible so the end product is more cost effective for the end buyer. So with that being said, we are going in for another year extension so we can take this winter, look into some new contractors to bring the cost down and look into starting this project next year. So,
Building Department have anything on that?
No, we've granted preliminary plat extensions in the past. This one just got approved in February of this year. He just wanted to be in front of the A game, make sure that they got their extension in plenty of time. It just needs action at the public meeting. There's no public hearing required.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments?
No, sir.
Okay, see you in 2 weeks.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Number 2, Centennial PUD amendment and reinstatement of preliminary plat. Owner petitioner 133 LMB LLC, 8900 Wicker Avenue, St. John, Indiana. Vicinity of 10702 West 141st Avenue, Cedar Lake, Indiana. Petitioner is requesting to amend the PUD ordinance and to reestablish the preliminary plat for Centennial.
Richard Anderson, 9211 Broadway, Maryville, Indiana. I was here last month and we talked about this reinstatement of the PUD, which was done in 2006. I had an ordinance and there were 2 things that were requested to be added at that time, which the 2 were a fence along the back and along the north, back meaning the west, and also along the north because of the fact that's industrial. And then the second thing was to add that there'd be a rider that everybody would sign who would buy a unit along the west or the north sides, indicating that they were next to an industrial zone. And that's something I think that they've done before. So those both were attached. And then we had submitted engineering. Your engineer had submitted back comments and we had not gotten back to those, and I'm hoping that we got back to him now.
Submitted on the 26th. Yeah. So we're still getting into it. Yep.
Can we get it done by the meeting or no?
We'll see. I need to get further along to figure that out.
Okay.
Yeah, we just got him on the 26th, so I haven't even gotten into him yet.
Okay. Because we're basically here requesting a public hearing for, at your public meeting. I don't know.
Think you'll have it by then, or?
I mean, it was a rather lengthy, so we got our letter out on the 28th September, we just got resubmittal on the 26th. We also got, Jack Slater forwarded me the PUD guidelines as well, so we'll look at that in concert with the engineering. I hope to look at it probably sometime next week, so we'll see how many comments we can pare down from that list, and then we'll go from there. Can't really tell you more than that at this time.
Well, I guess it's all dependent on him getting his review done, as to whether you're on the agenda in 2 weeks.
So do I publish, and then if I have to, we just ask for a continuance, if he don't?
Absolutely not. Let's hope we're not gonna start that again.
So do it in a month?
That would be the right timing with the review comments that we expect from Don.
So
Okay.
come back next month, and then we'll ask for the public hearing, and by then he can have it done.
Yes, so do.
Okay,
Okay, all right, Dave.
thank you very much.
Number 3, Bank Shots Bar and Grill, rezone and preliminary plat. Owner petitioner, Bank Shot Bar and Grill, Inc., 875 Berkshire Place, Creed, Illinois, 604174. Vicinity is 8120 Lakeshore Drive, Cedar Lake, Indiana. Petitioner is requesting a rezone from B2 to a commercial plan unit development and the preliminary plat for a one-lot subdivision.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Attorney Adam Swarden here on behalf of petitioner. Since the last time we appeared before this board, there's been a revised site plan taking the comments from the last meeting, primarily related to the internal traffic circulation and the parking issue off of Lakeshore Drive. We submitted to staff essentially 2 kind of renditions and revisions to the site plan for proposal for comment tonight. I know we got that in advance, and there's been a letter that has come back from town engineer on some comments that we're working on addressing with our engineering consultant, Adam McAlpine. And so what you have before you tonight in your packet should be those 2 site plan revisions. Probably the primary change from what's been presented to you numerous times before is the outdoor seating for this location has essentially been eliminated. They're looking at going to a rooftop design, which will be the primary seating area for the restaurant, with only about maybe 4 seating elements on the main floor of the restaurant, and then looking how to address the parking and internal circulation by removal of the outside seating area, with a couple of different concepts that included parking along Foster Drive, which we had requested at the last meeting, and we're happy to hear that that was something that would be considered by the Plan Commission. So I think both revised site plans incorporate parking in that regard, and then looking at a little bit of more non-traditional parking along Lakeshore Drive where they remove the outdoor seating and identifying that as either golf cart / ATV, UTV parking. And in general, what you have before you are 22 spaces for this site, comprised of 8 normal parking spaces that comply with the current town ordinance, 7 of which then would be compact throughout the site. 4, again, would be those non-traditional golf cart UTV parking in the front of the building, and across the board, 2 ADA compliant parking spaces and 1 parallel parking space on the east side of the site. So what we're looking at doing is getting maybe some additional comment and feedback from the commission, in addition to the comments that have been given to us by the town engineer, which our engineer is currently working on. I did have a conversation yesterday with Ashley in regards to a lot of these comments that Don had provided to us for purposes of tonight's meeting, which we will probably more formally address in kind, but I wanted to at least get comments back from the commission tonight on the revisions to the site plan to see if there's some other direction that we wanted to go with parking and circulation, so we could maybe incorporate that into a formal response back to the town engineer and possibly another revised site plan. I think primarily the biggest change, other than the circulation and the parking configuration, is that we have removed the fencing and barrier that was proposed numerous times before, so that's out. And then we show a sidewalk improvement there along Lakeshore Drive, which would continue the improvements from the roundabout that are currently in existence. And Ashley, I'm assuming they have the packet with the site plans in it?
They have the most recent engineering site
Okay.
plan, yes.
Sure.
Do you have any comments on this, Don? Have you seen these?
Yeah, we issued a letter on the 26th, just a kind of high altitude concept plan review. I think we had 10 comments. I'm not in favor of parking off of Lakeshore Drive. I don't think that's a good idea. I mean, the anticipation would be to have that 6-foot sidewalk basically monolithic on top of a curb.
Okay.
So having parking there is just not going to work. And I don't think backing in and coming off on the Lakeshore Drive is a good idea based on the traffic load of that. I don't necessarily have a problem with parking off of Foster. But I mean, that being said, we really lose out on parking spaces pretty significantly by eliminating those, and I still think we're short. I mean, do we even have an idea about employees and how many people are going to be allowed in this building, how much parking we're actually going to be needing?
Yeah, so from a programming standpoint, they're looking at a maximum between full-time there throughout the day during normal business hours and then during the heavy hours for employees.
Okay.
And so one of the things that we've looked at now that we have kind of this revised site plan is making use of what I call the kind of the dog leg, which is the east-northeast corner where we have kind of that dead-end space going back into the residential, which I know they haven't shown on here, but I'm in discussions with Adam about do we do some tandem parking kind of in that dead-end space back there where he has some of the parallel parking that we could put the employees, since there's not going to be a lot of movement there, and then reconfigure either the parallel or the perpendicular parking that has proposed between the two site plans, which would then address our need for the staff parking on site, and then how does that affect total number of parking. I did talk with Ashley about, you know, the comment that you had in the letter from the 26th about parking coming in off of Lakeshore Drive. I think if we eliminate that entirely, there's still an opportunity, even with the comments on the sidewalk and how that would be designed for this location, where we could still have non-traditional in the front of the building, where circulation would dictate if you come in with a golf cart or UTV or ATV, you still have to enter into kind of this area that we've designated on the east side or the west side for the traffic circulation, where they'd have to get to those parking locations through the internal part of the site. So we still can pick up some non-traditional parking. It just wouldn't be perpendicular, and you would not be able to access that from off of Lakeshore Drive. So by practices of how people typically drive, how do you control that? I suggest to Ashley maybe we look at doing some kind of like bollard or some kind of design where people can't pull in off of Lakeshore Drive even though they can see the parking spot, so they have to come in through the east side or the west side of the site, come around to the front, park their golf cart, UTV, ATV up at the front, and kind of restrict the access there, and then also put some signage that is only for that non-traditional component. So we don't have somebody with like a Honda Civic or a Volkswagen Golf compact car trying to pull in and use that as a dedicated parking spot. And so maybe that turns into more of a parallel parking situation. We may even be able to designate some of that for motorcycle parking, see what we can maximize there just to get the total spots up. So that was one conversation that we had that you don't have before you as part of a site plan that we can look at as the next iteration of this.
I guess my overall concern with that thought is that I don't know if we really want to promote UTV and golf cart access to this lot off of Lakeshore Drive. I don't think that's the intent of, and I don't know the ordinance that well, but I know there's a golf cart ordinance. I don't even know if golf carts are allowed on Lakeshore Drive. They are?
I don't know on Lakeshore Drive, but I know we do allow for golf carts to drive on roads that are 20 miles per hour, and we do have a golf cart tag that they have to get through the police department.
Well, Lakeshore Drive's not 20, so.
No, it's not.
So really the only access for those smaller vehicles would be from the Oak Shades, you know, subdivision that's immediately adjacent. And I don't think we can in good faith consider those small spots, actual spots in the actual configuration of the site. I mean, do we know what capacity they're thinking about in a restaurant like this?
So
Have we come to a number about how many parking spaces would actually be required for this use?
Yeah, we did talk about that. I think I'd given you kind of the total number.
32.
Yeah,
With
32.
the amount of employees and the amount of seating, but I still have to confirm with either Chief Wilkening or Deputy Chief Mager what the fire occupancy capacity for this building could be, if their proposed number of seats is even doable in that building, because I think Adam told me they're proposing 60 seats total, and I don't know if that's even something that they can actually reach with fire capacity, so it could likely come down from that amount.
Well, 60 seats, they need 30 parking.
With the 4 employees, they would need a
And if
total
I
of
counted
32.
right here, if you take out the stuff along Lakeshore Drive, you got what, 15, 16?
Yeah, if you take that out, it would reduce it from the 22.
And I agree with Don that we don't want to encourage golf carts or that type of vehicle to be running up and down like Lakeshore Drive or Klein or something to,
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I think the ordinance states 25 miles per hour, but I'm not sure what Lakeshore Drive is.
30 in that area.
Where does the rooftop seating come into play, though, with the parking spots?
It would be counted as amount of seats in the building. It would just depend again.
But
what
the 60 is inside the building, correct?
No, both.
No, it'd be both.
Oh.
It would be both.
And I don't yet have a concept yet from the architect if the outdoor seating would be an annual thing or seasonal. So, and we were talking with Ashley, if it becomes a year-round thing, then they would have to look at doing some kind of like enclosure. So the easiest comparable I can think of is like Stacks over in Valpo. They have a rooftop, but it's fully enclosed so they can heat the space so people can actually go out there in the wintertime. Otherwise, they're limited to what they could actually do in the main floor. And they are proposing to have 2 pool tables in the main floor with limited seating. 4 tables was the maximum currently that they're looking at. The only way really to maximize that would be is if they went kind of like to a high top table design along the perimeter, because I know one of the things that they proposed early on in the first iteration was having garage door or open style seating so you could have a breezeway, open up the building. And if they did that at this juncture with eliminating the outdoor seating, they might go to a high top component that kind of perimeters that building, since all the services are going to be down in the basement with the exception of the bar. So that would do 2 things. One, it would kind of create a natural buffer for like a railing component for when they have those garage door style or sliding door openings so people can't fall out of the building. It would give them the ability to increase seating on the main floor. And then we would just have to then look at how many seats conceivably could they have with the parking requirement for the outdoor component on the rooftop. Whether that, again, is seasonal or year-round is something that they're going to have to decide. And I can almost guarantee the parking situation is going to drive that. So if we have to limit the number of maximum occupancy, either from a fire code standpoint or from just a parking requirement standpoint, that's probably going to dictate what they can do there and how they're going to program that main floor and the outdoor space. Because if they're not going to be able to maximize tabletops and, you know, have 60 patrons there year-round potentially on the outdoor space, then I can't see why they would go through the cost and expense of having that be a year-round area of this location. They would just be stuck with what they can do internally on the main floor.
well, right now, they can have 30 seats. What's there?
I feel like with 9 normal spaces, we're way off, though, of 30. Like, I get the compact spaces. I don't know many people with compact cars, but then you take away the motorcycle and the golf cart.
Yeah, depending on the version you're looking at, it's either 4 spaces or 5 spaces for that non-traditional off of Lakeshore. Because I do know that one of the concepts shows additional 3 spaces to the west, southwest of the building there off of Lakeshore, but those would only be accessible internally. They would not be something that they could access from off of Lakeshore Drive.
One thing I'd like to say about the high top tables, you have to take in consideration the ADA. There's an incident recently where a handicapped person went into one of the establishments in town and they had no low tables for them, so actually it's a hindrance for them, or it doesn't allow them to enter. Now, I'm not sure what our codes say or what they have to follow, but you need to take that into consideration, to have, I think, to have some tables for somebody in a wheelchair or on crutches who couldn't get up on a high stool and that sort of thing.
Sure, yeah, Mr. Chairman, I mean, if they went to a primarily high-top design on that main floor, that would be the perimeter, they would still have space for regular tables in addition to what they're programming for the bars. So, I mean, there would be at least one or two, I would imagine. Again, what would drive that decision as to that design and layout for the main floor would ultimately what we can park here that the town would permit, and then any input we get from the fire department on the life safety issue for max occupancy.
Ashley, you have anything?
Yeah, Adam and I did talk about it the other day, and I said I was very similar with Don. All it takes is one bad icy road, one distracted driver for something to happen. So I told him it would be a plan commission call, and that if the plan commission did make any call, there would have to be some type of safety provision, ball or something to protect whoever is parking there, because that just, it seems without any type of safety, if the plan commission allows it, it's just asking for disaster. If it's allowed, there has to be some type of safety consideration. Right now, what we're looking at as needing to be built into any type of PUD agreement between the developer and the town for the commercial PUD rezone is they'll need parking in the front yard setback, no matter if it's only allowed on Foster or allowed on Fulton, they're going to need that because they're not going to get 50 feet from Lakeshore Drive and they're not going to be 30 feet from Foster. They're going to need a reduction in front yard setback. They are asking in a reduction in parking lot width from 10 feet to 9 feet. Reduction in required spaces, and again, that's determined by the total number of seats that's been allowed in, and I'll check with chief or deputy chief on what the maximum fire occupancy could be for that building, and then they'll also need to build in there the ability to serve alcohol in there.
So like a guardrail maybe in Lakeshore Drive?
I'd be more bollards, would be, what we typically have people do for the bollards is at least 6 foot on center with the steel pipe and cement around it. They're pretty standard, but some type of safety feature. I would not want anything up there without any type of safety feature.
Yeah, Bob, it might be a combo of guardrails and bollards, depending on what the ultimate site plan turns out to be. It's going to be awfully close. I mean, the building is only, there's not a dimension for it. Huh?
44?
That's 44 to center line. That's actually past center line, so it's probably only about, not even, say 20 feet. So, I mean, I think they have rear yard setback issues. Parking is just, that's going to be the biggest hurdle to get around.
Yeah.
And I think adding capacity like a rooftop is not helping your case, let's put it that way. It's only making it go the wrong direction.
Yeah. I mean, the only other thought that I had when I saw the iterations of this plan from Adam's office is, so on page 2 of 6, this is the site plan that kind of has the blacked out areas that I'll call the green space for the configuration, where they don't really have any parking to the east, northeast, that kind of gets into that dog leg of the property. If we eliminate that non-traditional parking for the golf cart, ATV, UTV in the front of the building, and we just look at maybe one access point coming off of Foster for two-way traffic and make that work over there, which means we'll probably eliminate some of that parallel and perpendicular parking. I mean, it would give us the opportunity then to possibly park to the east, northeast of that building along Lakeshore Drive internally, pick up those spaces that we lose in the front of the building, and have a controlled access point which basically eliminates any vehicular movement into or off of Lakeshore Drive. So when I saw this from a planning standpoint, to me that maybe made the most sense to pick those spots back up, and then we let that drive maximum seating and occupancy.
Yeah, but we don't have full width drive aisles through here.
Right, you don't.
maintain two-lane traffic.
Right, so we would have to look at losing probably one of the spaces. Right now it's proposed as perpendicular off of Foster, and probably eliminate or go to parallel parking along the north property boundary, so that you're not doing the angled parking coming in where we can meet that two-way traffic requirement, where so you could have people that would go over that far side of the building and park.
Yeah, it's gotta be tight. I mean, you need like a dumpster enclosure in some location either, which isn't shown. I figured that would be up kind of on your flag lot, but that eliminates any kind of tandem parking for employees, so
Yeah.
you need to look at a garage, garbage access. I mean, there's a lot of other stuff that's not even shown on this that would, encumber any site plan.
Right. Yeah, from the dumpster enclosure standpoint, I mean, one of the thoughts that we had, and I've been in discussion, is if we did something off of Foster where they can access that, so instead of parking, there's a dumpster enclosure there that comes out, where they can take it out of the building to the west, put it there, and then the truck can get to the garbage corral from there versus having to come internally. Especially if we eliminate one of those access points, then we can formalize that, screen it. And then I did talk to Ashley too about the fact with how tight this site is from a screening standpoint, because that's another requirement under the ordinance, since we back up to all these residences, is, do we even have the room here with what we need spatially for parking to even, like, say, do a row of arborvitae, which is pretty common. I think that looking at a solution where maybe we have some kind of like garden fencing that has vinage that's put in it, so you have basically a green wall that eliminates the amount of space that would be taken up for landscaping area, because I don't want them planting a bunch of arborvitaes not having adequate width, and then everything dies, and they're constantly replacing that, and it creates another problem that they have from screening with the neighbors. So that's another option that we're looking at. And if it's something that the planning commission would entertain, I can come back, later with exhibits of how that might work.
I mean, I think we allow opaque fences. That would be probably your best bet, because you're not giving up, a landscape border when we're already limited on space. I imagine that's what's gonna go. Yeah, I think the preference is vegetations, because it provides a sound barrier as well.
Right, yeah.
But I don't see a landscape border being able to fit.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Do they have to put sidewalk along Foster?
That would be a plan commission decision, if they request a waiver from putting sidewalk along Foster, if the plan commission would allow them to waive from that variation, or if the plan commission would require them to put it along Foster.
It would be highly recommended. We have plans together to put sidewalk extension on that side in the future. The first phase of that has been funded. That runs from the roundabout to Town Hall. So this would be the second phase when funding available. So it's in the hopper. It's in our plans to do it.
So that takes away more parking.
No, they're showing it now.
On Foster, I only see it.
Oh, no, not on Foster, sorry. I probably just misheard that, but, no, not Foster. There's no sidewalk within that entire subdivision. I don't think that would be an issue. Our primary and one of our largest objectives is the frontage on Lakeshore, for sure.
But isn't the sidewalk, going on the north side of Lakeshore Drive, not the south side? Or it's on the south side, not the north?
No, it's on the north.
It'll
be on the north. Conceptually, that's where it's planned right now.
Because we got all those sidewalks already existing down there by the chamber on the...
Yeah, so it'll be on the south side there. It'll jog to the north side as it gets through the roundabout, because once we get further west of here on Lakeshore Drive, we hit some of those bluffs, and putting it on the south side, there's no way we can do it. There's not enough room there. There's only room on the north side, so that's why we're on the north side here.
So we'll have like a double sidewalk by the chamber?
No, so we're gonna maintain, for the phase one part of that portion, that's just gonna be connected into. So it'll be on the south side once you head east of the roundabout. And then once we swing west of it, it'll swing through the roundabout. There's a crossing at the roundabout. It'll be on the north and then head west.
Going towards the fire station?
Yes. But I mean, that is very conceptual. It's not funded. We have a very, essentially overview plan of it. The first phase got funded through NERC in the last tip and should go to construction here in the next year or two.
And that goes from the chamber down to Constitution?
Yep, roundabout all the way to here.
I think one of the first things that needs to be done is to meet with the fire chief, find out how many occupancy, what the occupancy of this building will be. Without that, no sense in you moving parking places around or coming back and showing us you moved it here or moved it there until we know the number of occupants in the building. So we need to, figure that out, and,
Two-way entrance off of Foster makes the most sense, though, with adding some parking spots on the northeast. I think that's the only way you're getting.
Where do you put them on the northeast though?
Yeah.
It'll have to be against the building, probably.
I mean, the little flag lot, you could do something like tandem, but I figure that's where the dumpster enclosure would most likely sit, would be at that very north part.
Of the dog leg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of makes perfect sense to have it there. I mean, it's an enclosure, it's away from the building, so, I mean, the worries are if this business does take off, and everybody wants that to happen, and that's a good thing, but it turns into a bad thing once they start parking either on Lakeshore or something like that, or in the neighborhood. I don't think the residents would be in favor of having a whole bunch of people going to a restaurant parking down their street. I don't think it ever happened with the prior owner. It was never that crowded. But, if this does take off, and like I said, everybody wants it to, you run into problems with that.
So basically, my takeaway from that is, let's look at max occupancy, let that drive maximum parking spaces that we would need, see if we can come up with a reiteration of this with maybe just one access two-way traffic off Foster. I know it's gonna have some limitations there, and we'll have to have some variances from the basic standards.
Yeah.
But if we came back with a plan like that, let the occupancy drive it, show that we can park it, incorporate some of the other comments that Don had given us here last week, then that would be something then that we could have a discussion about moving forward with.
yeah, we need to see everything that's gonna be on that piece of property shown on your drawing. Like where the garbage, trash bin is gonna be, and stuff like that, parking, trash bins, the entrance and exits, that sort of thing,
Okay,
okay?
that works.
Any other comments, commissioners?
All right,
Okay,
all right, thank you.
you bet. Number 4, Goon Work LLC, rezone. Owner, Raybo Properties LLC, P.O. Box 2010, Cedar Lake, Indiana. Goon Work LLC, DBA Hoosier Ordinance 7580, West 84th Place, Crown Point, vicinity of 13955 Moore Street, Cedar Lake, Indiana. Petitioner requesting a rezone from R2 to B2. Howdy.
Hi, how are you? I'm Jake Davis, one of the owners. Bryce Broviak.
Addresses.
7580 West 84th Place, Crown Point, Indiana.
And 1151 Cessna Drive, Burns Harbor, Indiana.
Okay.
Last month, we were here about rezoning from R2 to B2. We originally had mentioned that there was going to be like 8 to 10 parking spaces. Based on observing some other local firearm stores and just seeing how many people can come in there during their peak hours, there's no way, 5 cars max, 5 or 6 spaces we would need instead of the 8 to 10. Mainly because it will be a parts and we'll be stippling, so a lot of people will be dropping things off or coming to pick things up and then shopping around for the firearms and parts we do have in stock.
So where do you propose to get this parking from, or you got room there to do it, or?
We currently have 4 parking spaces on our property, and technically we do have room for 5. It's just, there's a hole cut out for what they put a plumbing clean out right there. You just have to remove that and then cover in that square, and we'd have the 5 parking spaces.
You had talked before about having an agreement with the the clinic about sharing some parking. Did you ever talk to them?
We did, we reached out to our landlord, and we had, you know, he said he'd take care of that. Supposedly, they're in the middle of switching owners, selling the building, so he's
The
trying...
building that you're trying to go in?
No, the building next to it.
Oh, the clinic?
Yeah. So he's reaching out to them. I believe that they wanted to meet in person and talk about that. We have not yet been able to do that yet, so.
You got some issues you need to resolve then.
Yes, sir.
Don, you have anything?
I mean, that would be, my biggest thing would be some type of cross-access easement with the neighbor to meet the parking requirements, really. I mean, besides that, it's an existing building, not too much favor from that perspective.
Ashley?
We did briefly discuss this earlier today. I know you're saying that you're looking at, you'd only maybe have 4 to 5, but looking at the building size and how many employees that you talked about being in there, the requirement from the parking standard is that 8 to 10. So that's where you need that cross-access easement agreement. I had not heard the doctor's office was selling, so that's the new one to me. There was talk, concern about if there, between the two, there would actually be enough, so I would need to know how much is actually in the doctor's office to know what their parking schedule would need to be. But last month you guys talked about not being as big of in favor of rezoning to B2, but being in favor of being for B1, and then going for a use variance. So if that's still the case, if they need less parking or they're requesting less parking, when they go for the use variance, they could also look at a developmental variance for parking requirements.
I think the B1 with the special use variance is the best way to approach that, isn't it?
It's a good way to approach it. It's a controllable way to approach it.
Well, see if you can get the parking spaces that you need.
Okay.
Because there's, I mean, basically you're gonna need a deferral from the public meeting until you can resolve those issues, correct?
Yes, sir.
It's not been advertised yet for anything.
Any other comments?
Did we get anything from the chief of police on this, such as firearms or anything like that? You're not gonna have any indoor range, are you?
No, sir.
I haven't gotten anything from Chief, but I can reach out to him and see what he says. I know the couple of stores that do have firearms or do sell firearms, I've gotten calls from ATS to make sure it's zoned properly. I did work with somebody who used to work for the ATS back several years ago, and they would go and do pop-up inspections, acting like they are somebody who should not be buying and making sure that they're doing everything appropriately. So I do know it is a heavily federally regulated business. And they take one misstep and they're in trouble.
During the FFL process, we had to send a copy to the ATF, I mean, everything with pictures of us, fingerprints, as well as to the chief law enforcement officer, which in my area is Lake County. So all that paperwork has been turned in.
Until there's a cross-access easement available, any kind of use for that building is probably going to be limited until that is resolved, so that's the next step going forward, and really no sense in having any more discussion until we have that.
Okay, I agree.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
You're welcome. Number 5, Blue Sky Concept Plan, owner, Region Holdings, Inc., 425 Joliet Street, Dyer, Indiana. Petitioner Kevin Pasco, Oak Homes, 8051 Wicker Avenue, Cedar Lake. vicinity of 14517 Parish Avenue, Cedar Lake. Petitioner is requesting a concept plan for the proposed blue sky development.
All right, good evening. Kevin Pasco of Old Off Homes, 8051 Wicker Avenue, St. John, Indiana. We're here tonight for our I'm here tonight for our second concept plan presentation for our new blue sky development. Just to give a brief summary of the location, it's an approximately 80-acre parcel at the intersection of 141st Avenue and Parish Avenue, and it recently completed the annexation process and received A agricultural zoning. Since the last meeting, we took back everyone's comments and accommodated them as best as we could. So I'll go ahead and detail the changes to the concept plan that's in front of you. For the units, we now have 69 single-family lots, 75-foot wide, 66 villa lots that are now 70-foot wide, and 30 paired cottage lots that are 100-foot wide. So this brings the total to 195 units with 2.4 dwelling units per acre. Just compared to the previous concept plan, it had 68 single-family lots, 70 villa lots at 60 feet wide, and 34 paired cottage lots. And it had a total of 206 units with a 2.6 dwelling units per acre. So the summary and the difference between the two plans and their units is one more single-family lot, 4 less villa lots with a 10% increase overall in the width of those lots, and 4 less paired cottage lots, for a total decrease of 11 units overall. So additionally, we added the lot lines for the homes by other section, which is reserved for Schilling's ledgestone development, and those measure 70 feet by 125 feet. For those lots, we'll either plat them ourselves, or we will have Schilling come in with a separate plat, but we'll work that out in the PUD agreement when we get to that stage. We've also shifted the southern park/open space area to be more centrally located, and reconfigured the villa and paired cottage layout. So the villas now wrap around the entire perimeter of that northern section, and then we move the paired cottages just to that central section, and then one of those 2 extra pods there. There was also discussion about deeding the park and open space to the town and then having a maintenance agreement with the HOA. So we met with the Parks and Recreation staff in Ashley on October 23rd to discuss that. So we talked a little bit about that, and then also how we can best optimize that park and open space with certain features. And we'll have future meetings regarding that, obviously, as we make further refinements to this plan, and then when we get into the PUD process as well. That's when we'll really get things set in stone. Traffic was obviously a big point of discussion, understandably. So we commissioned a traffic study from First Group Engineering on October 11th to analyze the intersection of 141st and Parish based on roughly 200 units going in there. We also provided the rail-side traffic study exhibits and the numbers from earlier this year when they completed their study. So between our study and that information, there should be a pretty comprehensive idea of the traffic situation between Parish Avenue and 41. The traffic counts were just conducted last week, so we do not yet have any preliminary results of that study, but I was informed this morning that we should be getting those in next week. Then regarding the well site, Ed and I spoke with Chris on October 26th, and we're given information pertaining to costs associated with the test drilling and whether we're willing to cover that. We are agreeable to that, and we'll most likely make that part of our PUD agreement down the road. And then finally, the last update is that I'm currently working with Ashley to schedule a meeting with town staff to go over utility connections that would be available to us once we receive approvals and begin construction, but obviously that's a little bit down the road. So with that, I'm glad to take any questions or comments that you may have.
What's the difference? Go ahead, John.
Thank you. Hey, Mr. Chairman, did he mention anything about, or let me just ask you guys, are you able to give us any land on the north side or the east side where like the bushes are drawn in and things in order for us to be able to possibly widen both of those roads, if not now, in the future? Or are you just showing decel lanes and XL lanes?
Well, some of that obviously will get talked to after we receive the results of the traffic study. So I'm not going to confirm or deny any potential improvements that are going to go on there. But I suppose right now, we would only be able to guarantee that whatever right-of-way would be required on that frontage.
Okay, fair enough, thank you.
What's the difference between a villa and a paired cottage? Is that a paired villa?
So the villa lots are just a kind of a smaller product type, but they are detached, where the paired cottage is an attached product.
Okay, so there's just one unit
Correct.
on
For the
a villa
villas.
lot?
Yep.
Don, you got any comments?
I mean, no, at this time, once we see the traffic impact study, that'll drive a lot of the infrastructure improvements we'll recommend, and then, yeah, once, Kevin speaks to, I think, Neath Engineering about utility hookups and infrastructure, we'll know more of that, and then we'll start diving more into, the concept plan and where we're at, but nothing right now.
Okay. Ashley?
I am coordinating and working with, our utility engineer, our public works, and Chris to set up that meeting for us to discuss with them, sit down with them, and talk about utility connections and utility availability and stuff like that in that area. So once we get that meeting scheduled and set up, I will be able to have more information on that one. Overall, though, we did sit down and talk about the parks, and they are open to working with our parks department about what it is that they may potentially see in either park area being dedicated, and working with them to kind of create something nice for the community and making sure that the parks would be open to the community, not just the subdivision. And they did include a landscaping plan that was included in your guys' packet. Overall, though, they did bring the paired villas, cottages, the duplex units in, and so now when anybody comes down Parish or anybody comes down 141st, it will be all single families if this plan's approved, similar to like Mr. Hunley asked them at the last work session.
I'm happy to see that we're starting to get the Park District involved with what's going on in these developments. And that's a plus, so I like that. I think one thing we need to understand in the traffic study here is that we're not only talking going from Parish to Wicker on 141st, these cars should be going north on Parish, south on Parish. You know, who knows? So we gotta make sure that we've got the traffic study on all viable routes out of that subdivision.
Will the traffic study include those routes too?
I'm not sure of the full extent. I just know for sure that they covered between 141st and 41, just after we gave them those rail side exhibits, but in terms of in any of the other three directions, I'm not sure of the full extent that they studied, outside of the intersection itself.
Could we add that to the traffic study since it's not?
Yeah, we might need to discuss that, Kevin.
Okay.
Generally, we discussed that internally to figure out what the bounds of the study will be, and it will have to extend outside of that immediate intersection. It's gonna have to go up to 133rd and most likely all the way down to 151st. Yeah.
Okay. I can reach out to First Group tomorrow and see what the extent is, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, if they're still doing traffic counts, they might be able to stay out there.
And we can't forget that Harvest Creek subdivision is going in too, down on 155th. So you're gonna have cars that are gonna be involved in this traffic study too. You know, so it's a big section there to look at.
Right.
All right, it looks like putting a well in there that you're gonna have enough water to supply this subdivision, from the looks of it. So,
well, that's the thought. Obviously, the test well will confirm that.
right, but
and then,
well, that's what I'm looking at. If not, then we definitely gotta figure out where that water's coming from.
well, and that will also come from the meeting with
Well, we
Neath
gotta make sure
Engineering.
there's enough.
Yeah. No, I understand.
Some documentation to support that would be helpful too.
Okay.
All right, and the other thing is our connections down at Waste Management, down in Lowell. Now, there's a meeting on the 14th, supposed to give us some information on this, and so we'll find out more. But, you know, if there isn't a whole bunch of connection or access for us down there, we've got developments in progress now that are gonna utilize those. I would assume that comes into play. So, you know, that's a big concern too. So those three major concerns I see are potable water, wastewater, and traffic.
Right.
I like what you did with enlarging. I don't know all the dimensions yet. I don't see any on this one drawing I'm looking at right now, but what I heard you say, I think is adequate at this point. Okay.
I don't know that I'm in on it. I did the square footage on the single families and they're a little light, but.
For the area?
Yeah.
Lot area? Wow. That's what we have to look into, so.
Who's gonna own the water tower?
We would.
Yep.
The town would.
So if the test well comes back good on that property, the first thing that would go in would be a new community well, and then it would be the water tower, just because of how processing permitting works through IDEM and all that. But I think estimates show it's supposed to be a 4-digit gallons per minute, if I remember correctly. But we gotta wait on the test well to be drilled and see how those come back and if it's a good well site or not.
Well, I'm way down at the end of that water tank. My water pressure isn't that great, so I don't want 300 more homes using my water.
John, that meeting you was talking about, is that for that Westler Task Order 15?
It's for the joint management.
The joint board had a meeting, and they ordered, I guess Westler's engineers for the sewer plant.
Right.
And they had some wrong figures, so they ordered a new test. And that's for evaluation of the service area and the flow projection for the water. Is that what that meeting's on? Or have we got anything back to that?
I don't attend the JMOD meetings, I don't, that's, Neil and Niece attend those meetings. I wish I knew, but I don't.
I think the JMOD meetings are quarterly.
November 14th is the next one though, correct?
It's down in Lowell,
And it's in the evening, right?
5 p.m.
I'd like to see all, I mean, if they're available, I'd like to see all the plan commissioners.
I'll be there.
Max you can have from the plan commissioner at a time of 3.
The maximum we can have is 3.
That is not accurate. You can all go, get in the same bus and go to Lowell.
I like that better.
It's a public meeting, right?
It's a public meeting and you're attending to observe. You're not attending to dig
Participate.
in and negotiate.
I'll be there.
Yeah, we make no decisions.
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure we weren't violating any quorum
You are
standards.
not violating any laws.
November 14th at 5 o'clock,
Please
isn't
go
it?
to a public
Yeah,
meeting.
town
Get the
hall.
info.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, I did have one question for Don.
Okay.
Hey, Don, on the northwest corner of this subdivision, near where the water tower is, and on the northeast corner of Rose Garden along Garden Way, wasn't there quite a bit of a drop-off where they had to put in a retention wall? Will that retention wall stay for the people that buy the houses on this northwest corner of this new subdivision? Or will it be blended in to the new subdivision by raising the land?
I think that just depends on what the site plan comes in with grading wise. There is a retaining wall in lots 1 and 2, so they're the furthest northeast lots within Rose Garden. It's maybe a 2.5 foot, 3 foot retaining wall. We've actually been discussing that recently because those were former model lots and they're starting to be sold to homeowners. There is an access agreement, I think a 10-foot access agreement along that to allow for fill against it to elevate everything. But that's gonna be driven by what Old Tough comes up with their site plan. So I think it is allowable, hence the access easement that they're supposed to record. So, yeah, it just depends on how the elevations come together.
Okay, thank you.
And there's a 143rd place will connect into Rose Garden.
Correct.
So that'll be an access to get out and then head over to 141st. And then on Parish at 7 o'clock in the morning, when school was starting, Parish and 133rd are jam-packed with vehicles. I tried coming out of the post office and making a left-hand turn. I couldn't do it. The traffic was so backed up, I had to turn to the right, and then I was going to try to go through Strat's parking lot and turn, and I couldn't do that because Parish was backed up so far. I had to go south on the Parish and take 141st to get to 41.
It's backed up every morning and evening from 141st down to 135th. Backed up.
Right.
Okay, any other comments?
I don't have any.
No, sir.
I do like the villa deal. I'm not too crazy about the Fair Cottages, but I do like the villas.
Okay. You know what you're gonna do?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
I have one other question for you. Are those ponds gonna have aerators in them? The ponds, the retention ponds, are they gonna have aerators?
Yes, they will.
Okay, number 6, Lakeside Unit 2, Block 1, final plat. Owner petitioner, Cedar Lake 133 LLC, 8900 Wicker Avenue, St. John, Indiana. Vicinity of 5711 West 133rd Avenue, Cedar Lake, Indiana. Petitioner is requesting the final plat for Lakeside Unit 2, Block 1, which contains 55 single-family lots and 1 outlot. Hello.
Hello, good evening. Kevin Hunt on behalf of Schilling Development, 8900 Wicker Avenue, representing the owner, Cedar Lake 133 LLC. We will be coming in seeking final plat approval for Lakeside Unit 2, Block 1. This is part of original Lakeside. I know, I've got some notes here. I know we're roads are being stoned as we speak. Well, not now. Today they were. They're going to continue. Curbs will go in next week, and hopefully, weather holds up. We'll be paving at the end of next week. So we're hoping to work. Working through some staff issues, getting everything we need sorted out, and hope to get final plat approval for that and have Lakeside restarted.
Don, anything?
We've issued a couple comments. The DBG's their engineer, so they have those comments. They're pretty minor, so they'll work on that over the next 2 weeks, and then we're finalizing the letter of credit values and quantities, and then, yeah, in 2 weeks, we'll have those numbers prepared for you, and they'll be ready to go.
Okay, Ashley?
I did chat with Neil on this one to make sure 100% we have the capacity on the inside for this. Neil has told me that we 100% do have the capacity for this final plat. There was a couple minor addressing issues. I've already got them over to Jack. He's going to get me an updated final plat, so there shouldn't be anything with that except we're ready to go.
100%, you're talking about wastewater?
Everything, capacity there.
Okay.
So we've got the water
Waiting for about 4 years.
going from 141st to the development?
Not at the moment. That anything from 141st is going through Lakeside South, which is still subject to town council approval. But assuming that.
Yeah, but I thought we needed the water capacity brought down there so you could do the other 146 homes in the first 200 that were already approved.
What is up today is just Lakeside Original, and my understanding is that
the first was 54 homes, but then I thought you couldn't move forward until we got more water to you.
No, I think they did some upgrades to the Robin's Nest well house with new VFDs and everything that got the capacity up to allow these homes, is my understanding.
Correct, we've been
So
doing
this
a
would
lot
be-
of work on the well house on Robin's Nest and, working on the east side water transmission main and all of that, that have increased the capacity for this availability.
So that'll allow all 200 homes to be built?
Not all
No.
200
Not-
homes, just
Only
this,
this block.
only this block of 55 homes.
Yes,
Okay,
that's my understanding as well.
so it'll be like 109 then, with the original 54 and 55 more?
That would be about 92. If
92.
I'm doing the math, 200
Yeah.
units total.
I'd have to double check that.
Okay.
I can't do it in my head.
Throwing that through my head.
So, for the moment, all we're doing is this block one. That's what we have capacity for.
Any other commissioners?
No, sir.
Okay, looks like I'll see you in a couple weeks.
Thank you.
You bet. Number 7, Culver site plan. Petitioner Stephen Culver, 828 Davis Street, Suite 360, Evanston, Illinois. Owner CWK Properties, Cedar Lakes LLC, 7949 West 79th Street, Unit 2, Ridgeville, Illinois. Petitioner is requesting a concept plan for a site plan for a 2-unit restaurant. Hello.
Hello, good to see you. We presented to you guys earlier this year, and we're back now as things are moving forward on this project. This is at the corner of 133rd and Osborne. It's a 2-tenant building with 2 separate restaurants in it. The owners of the property are also the franchisees for both of the restaurants. That'll be there. One's going to be a Wingstop, and the other one will be a Jet's Pizza. The plan is...
What kind of a pizza?
It's a franchise called Jet's Pizza.
Jet?
Jet's.
Oh, Jet.
It's delicious.
Yeah, Detroit style pizza. It's very good.
Really good.
I like working with these guys. So,
Can you state your name and address, please?
apologies. Stephen Culver, address is 828 Davis Street, Evanston, Illinois.
Thank you.
And I'm the architect for the project. So we've worked with this plan, we've worked with Ashley on a few variances that we are going to be requesting as part of this. Town engineer has reviewed the first offering that our engineers have put together, and we're currently making revisions accordingly and working on what your comments that you have provided. And we're looking forward to moving this forward, so we're here for the concept review.
Todd?
Yeah, we got engineering earlier this month that we issued a letter on the 26th, some comments on the plan set and site plan. So yeah, we're just waiting for a resubmittal, and we'll be going back and forth, I'm sure. Well, I guess one thing to bring up is do you want to see fronting sidewalk on Osborne and improvement on that road?
Well,
I think we discussed this in the initial concept.
I
don't know.
thought we discussed not having any entrance or exit onto a residential street.
Okay, currently they show one.
I know, but hadn't we discussed that?
It had been discussed, I think when, Mr. Culver called me to say that he was gonna be sending, they had looked at the engineering of being able to get a vehicle in and out of there, for delivery, that they wouldn't possibly have the turn radii that they need to get them in and out of there safely. So that's why they kept the entrance on Osborne, and I did talk to them about that time, if that was something that they did. It was entirely probable that the owner's going to have to improve Osborne to be able to hold that type of traffic for his frontage.
How does this differ from bank shots then with Lakeshore Drive and Foster?
I was wondering.
What?
I was wondering that too. Foster Street's a residential street.
Because that building's already there, I suppose.
When there was a building there before it burned down, if the same thing happened by Foster.
Okay, Ashley, is the parcel on the west side of Osborne, the southwest corner of Osborne and 133rd, is that business? Or is that residential?
To the east of it, it's B3, to the west of it, it's B3, to the south of it, it's R2. So directly across from it, it is zone business. To the east.
And the
To
west. So
And
where their
north.
entrance would face, it would be facing another residential zoned parcel. I believe it's currently being used as residentially used. Just looking at the house, I don't think that's a business right now.
You're
No,
correct.
right?
But it's zoned for business.
Zone for business. It's significantly higher than that, than the road as well.
But Don, how do we say for bank shops, we don't want them pulling in and out on Lakeshore Drive, and we want them pulling in and out on a residential, when 133rd is equally, if not more busy here, but we're saying, yes, we want you to pull in and off.
I mean, 133rd already has a driveway apron cut.
Totally understand.
Yeah.
But make it make sense to me how the two are different besides, and so does Shane.
Yeah. No, I understand the concern. I think if you allow them to come off Osborne, I think they should reconstruct that road.
I would agree with that.
That frontage, because that road is not in good shape. It doesn't need more traffic on it. I don't necessarily have a problem with it coming onto it, just because 90% of that traffic is most likely gonna come north on 133rd anyways. It more just provides some circulation to it.
That's my point.
Yeah. Whereas bank shots, that's kind of in its whole other realm with unique circulation issues, coming off of, that one's just hard to compare in my opinion.
Well, I mean, Bob
Because of
just
the
said
higher-
you can't get out of the post office and go.
Yeah. I mean, this, either way you go, you're gonna be going on 133rd in this aspect. Like, there's just, most likely you're not gonna go down Osborne, down to 135th and out to US 41. Whether you go out on Osborne or go out to 133rd, you're coming out to 133rd 90% of the time.
That's, we just.
I don't see how you avoid that. But I do think Osborne needs to be improved if you have an entrance off it.
I agree with that.
I don't even necessarily think you need sidewalk for that, because it's going down to Cook subdivision, which has nothing. But I think the roadway infrastructure needs to be upgraded.
What kind of upgrade are you proposing though, like, third lane possibly on Osborne?
No, I mean, I'm not out there during heavy traffic periods. I don't know how much Osborne stacks when 133rd's really backed up, especially during school.
Depends if it's baseball or not. Or
Yeah, and
softball.
baseball. I don't think it needs to be widened to that perspective. We have the right-of-way for it, for sure. It's a wider right-of-way than most in town.
Isn't it a 60?
Yeah, it might be a 60, which is quite large for old pre-platted subdivisions. It is, I mean, some grades would be challenges to make it a 3-lane, it's a 60-foot right-of-way. But I do think it should be curb and gutter, and the road base is not good, I know that. We repaved that partially probably 8 years ago, and it's not doing so hot.
I remember it was.
It's just we just did an overlay, so it has base issues.
Yeah.
What size trucks are, delivery trucks gonna be semis or
Yeah,
box trucks?
the smaller semis.
Semis?
Yeah, and it's, like not early morning, but, you know, none of these concerns open till like 10 o'clock in the morning, so it's not like really off hours they show up.
I was just wondering what size truck it was. That's why the entrance and exit is way on the south side of that lot, on the Osborne. Correct? Well, one of the ways to keep the traffic from going south on Osborne is make it right out only.
Well, which we're happy to do. Yeah, this is just to accommodate the occasional delivery trucks. It's the only reason why I decided to try
They're
to
gonna
work
use
that out.
Osborne right out only.
Yeah, we can restrict it. It's a good idea.
Yeah, we have no issues with that at all.
Because they can't go through the subdivision.
Right, don't want them going to the subdivision. If they're gonna use that, they have to, do a right only. Same thing with, bank selling, make them the same way, just left out only.
Well, that one, I think they want to restrict Lakeshore Drive to entrance only, and then they'll exit off of Foster, is the way they're showing it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, modeling and all that, but we can make that left only out or whatever.
Yeah.
All right. With the, screening, because that house on the east is zoned business, he doesn't have to screen it?
Well, technically, he is against the public right-of-way on the east. It's an unimproved platted walkway, so he's against town property on the east. But next to him is a business, and we don't require screening between commercial and commercial, only commercial and residential. So realistically, the only place they're gonna be required screening is gonna be along the southern boundary line.
That's fine, just so he understands.
Well, that's a gray area, so it is a B3 zone parcel, but it is currently a residential use.
You may also impose reasonable restrictions or conditions as you find them and discover them in the process.
Well, I think even if the zoning says it doesn't have to be, but it's residential, that's a pretty nice looking house there too, isn't it? I think that some screening should be added there, also, just because of it being a residence, even if it's something different.
Is that a deal breaker?
No, well, we actually plan to put a fence on the east side.
Yeah,
I think it makes sense.
It's better for us to, just to have that screening for the property.
Don, am I missing your letter?
No, it's at the, I think, very bottom of the attachment.
Oh, I saw it.
It is.
It's, page 27 of the PDF.
Got it, I just hadn't gone that far.
There's a lot in here.
There's a ton. Okay, so it's, okay, 27.
Hey, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I have a question. Heather brought up a good point with Little League. So if people are leaving Little League and I'm getting ready to turn left on Osborne and go west, couldn't we squeeze a right turn lane in with that width of that road? Or encroach into their land, since they wouldn't need to have at least for a couple of cars, so we could have a right turn lane for people wanting to go east?
So, the potential issue with that is that the 133rd improvements extended onto Osborne probably 25 to 30 feet off the kind of edge of pavement. And we actually have curb radii through there with, it looks like, one storm inlet. So, and the current width doesn't support 3 lanes, we're about 24, 25 feet. So yes, we could widen it, but we would have to do some substantial work to widen out that radii. There's also, it looks like, a utility pole immediately on that radii, which would have to be moved, and it looks like it's a transformer. So, no, nothing's impossible. It would be messy, though.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other comments or questions?
The interior of the businesses, is there seating capacity in each one of them?
Both of these are delivery, takeout only.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Drive-through?
No. There's no seating for the Jets, and there's no seating for the Owens staff.
I'm happy to see another business go there.
Me
After
too.
seeing it empty or
The
burnt down and then
more
empty for
on
more.
the floors.
And Jets is really good pizza, so I'm excited about that too.
I think with this site plan currently, we're looking at about 2 to 3 variances. We're gonna need a reduction in lot size or setback from the eastern boundary. They're asking for 7 from that eastern boundary, so that would be a variance. And they would need a variance for parking in any of the front yard setbacks along Osborne or 133rd. They're gonna need it because it's in the front yard setback. I think right now they're proposing 23 spaces, and they should be good if I calculated correctly, but I left that calculation in my office. I think they need 22 and they're at 23.
With no indoor seating, that many still?
So for takeout only, carryout only, it only required 1 space per 15 square foot of customer space. And I think altogether it was a little over 300 between the 2 units, and it came out to about 22 spaces.
20-some spaces for pickup, that's a lot of spaces. I mean, I hope you're that busy, but
Oh, yeah,
that's a
we'll
lot of
never use all the
spaces.
spaces. But.
With 23, they're over.
Yeah, we meet the ordinance.
My concerns would just be pulling in and out. I like the idea of having Osborne as a backup, right turn only. Screening, which you said you're fine with.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I've got. Happy to see another business come.
I don't have anything.
All right, very good.
Anything else?
What do you think, did we make a decision on Osborne improvements?
I mean, I think they need to be done.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the Osborne definitely needs to be improved. I'm almost I'm almost thinking it needs to be widened while we're doing it, but I don't know how much. I mean, you know more than I do about what that's gonna.
I mean, everything's doable.
The Culvers, I wish had a turning lane, since it's opened up. You know, there's a turning lane further west for some of those businesses, and Culvers, I know that was a tight lot. But the traffic is an issue over there with no turning lane, and already is. But, I mean, if it's, you don't have the room for it, you don't have the room for it.
Yeah.
How far on Osborne does the, improvement go to?
I mean, it's pretty much gonna be the south boundary, their proposed.
Their property?
Yeah, their proposed
Okay.
entrance, their Osborne entrance is pretty far south on their property as it is now. It's not, I think their southern radii off of it is their property boundary, so it's just gonna take it to there.
Okay.
So what would we do, look into moving the utility pole and,
Yeah, I mean, if you really want a third lane on there, you're gonna have to do that, because I don't think you can go further west on that right away, because your grades start going up on that one residential parcel to the west. You can see the grades on their grading sheet, their grading plan, it goes up almost 4 feet, just outside of edge of pavement. I don't think we want to be getting into that. We would probably, if we did it, we would shift it further towards his property and probably maintain the western edge of pavement.
and what are your thoughts on adding that?
Like I said, we can do anything we want. We can move poles till we're blue in the face.
Well, the necessity of it, what's your thought on it?
I mean, I don't know. I haven't been out there during probably some of the peak times, especially with school heading westbound with the light. I think the configuration of the US 41 light needs to be looked into during some of our peak, especially school hours.
Agreed.
That may help alleviate some of the stacking on 133rd during kind of, you know, school exits. And then also the Little League traffic to the south. We try not to design roads for those extreme peaks that are, you know, 15 to 20 minutes a day or something like that. I would really need to see just how bad it gets and how frequently it gets that way.
If we were going to do it, though, now would be the time to do that.
For sure. I mean, if we're gonna start improving the roads to kind of town standards, yeah, you would not wanna do that and make it 2 lanes and wanna do 3 lanes 5 years down the road. You'd wanna do it now.
The Little League stuff, I feel like a lot of those people, I am one of those people, filter out towards 41 anyways.
Yeah.
But just in general, it would be nice to look into it, because now's the time to do it, or it's not gonna get done.
Yeah, we can look into it in conjunction with your engineer and just see scoping wise, how feasible it is, how expensive it is.
That's key. If we, I respectfully request that if you can, I can get a list of what the improvements would be requested.
Yeah.
Because my guys might say, we don't really need that entrance on Osborne. You know, it might come down to that. It's an extreme amount of work for, we can get a truck to move through here. We worked on weirder sites to make that happen. We just did it for convenience, because I believe there's a curb cut there now. But if it's gonna be an extreme amount of extra work, they might opt to just say, we won't go out on Osborne then.
Okay.
But that's my client's decision, but if I can get a list of exactly what, so I can give them an idea of the scope of what they're getting into,
Yeah.
so they can consider.
Do you
We
mind
don't
if
know
I
either. I'd like to see what the scope of that would be.
see what it is?
Yeah.
Honestly, my thought either way is that needs to be an entrance, exit on Osborne,
Okay.
either way, so.
Can I engage your engineer and discuss with them about scoping and estimating how much it would cost?
Oh, absolutely, I think they've reached out to you already, got the ERA?
Yeah, you're right.
I'll let them know to expect your call.
Okay.
See what it looks
Hey,
like.
another idea could be, if, you know, to not chase these folks out of town and to try to work with them if the scoping is too complicated, too expensive, or they wanted to whack that entrance off of Osborne, what we could maybe do is get them to, eat up some land there on the corner. We are on the TIF district, so as, TIF grows later on, 5-10 years down the road, we would always have the option of handling that movement of the pole and some of those radii in the, you know, the radius of the, turn lane ourselves at a later date.
Because of the grade on the other side of the street, John, it'll probably have to be that way.
I mean, we've got the right of way.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's just the east side, we have a pretty decent amount of right of way from the current eastern edge of pavement to the right of way, probably to make it work. I mean, we got like 14 feet. It'd be tight, it'd be up against it probably, but we could probably make it work without having to go west at all.
So you're essentially just adding a taper right turn lane in right after their entrance. That's the way it would turn out. I don't know how much you could stack in it.
Just from their entrance to 133rd, right?
Pretty much. That would be where your widening would be.
That's where,
And
that's where it's needed.
Yeah, we'd have to blow out that radius at 133rd and reconfigure that. So we'd have to do some work as far as stormwater, because there's an inlet in that radius that goes out to the main trunk line.
And that could be the hang-up that...
Yeah, because I don't want to get into 133rd. That pavement section is large. It would be expensive to cut into it if we had to.
Yeah, it might not make sense, but I think just having a look at it, see what that looks like and what entails makes...
We'll look into it with some numbers and bring them back, you know, if we have another concept meeting about this.
Nobody's trying to run anybody off, but...
Well, no, just, you know, how bad do we need that Osborne exit for our operation, you know, and what's entailed with that? And I'm just speaking for my clients that, you know, we walk away saying, well, now you gotta improve a whole section of road here, they might be like,
yeah,
we can just close it off and Osborne, it's not even
It's just a short section of...
Oh, that's not my money, I mean, I hear you, I don't think it's that big of a deal, but I gotta it's their decision.
we are a unique, small growing town trying to make up for some,
Sins of the past?
there you go,
Yeah.
just try to make it right going forward.
I
We're happy to
I
have
hear
you.
from a bunch of boards, and when they make certain requests, you know when they're reasonable requests, you know, sometimes it's not reasonable. This is not an unreasonable request, but it's not for me to say right now that sounds great, we'll do it.
Okay, let's just see what it looks like while the opportunity...
Of course, we'll work on it.
I looked it up on my phone, and there's 2 of the pizza places in Chicago and one in Michigan. I don't know if there's any, that's what...
It's a growing franchise.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're popping up all over. We're doing one in Valpo right now, and there's one in Marionette Park. I mean, I forget where it is now. But these gentlemen that do the wing stops are now doing a whole bunch of these Jets pizzas, and they're doing very well with them. And yeah, it is very good. It's good pizza.
Okay, any other comments or questions?
This is not ready for our meeting in November. They still need to make their formal application for BZA. I don't want us going to the November meeting and having contingencies waiting on BZA, so I would not say it's ready for...
There's a little work that has to be done here anyway. Yeah, okay.
Ideally, when do you wanna get going on that?
Oh, these guys, they
Ready to
want
go?
to build tomorrow.
Okay.
They're ready to go. And they're actually coming down.
Okay.
All right, so you speak to my engineers and we'll get us a real scope, and I can talk to my guys about what it's gonna take to do what the city is requesting.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Number 8, Centennial Villas, Phase 1, request to convert from performance letter of credit to maintenance letter of credit.
Right, Kevin Pasco with Old Top Homes. Don issued a letter on October 3rd recommending the conversion from the letter of credit from performance to maintenance. Jeff Yatsko said that everything should be taken care of in order with the town, and he has a letter of credit ready to go. So we'd like to have the conversion on the agenda in 2 weeks.
Yep, we're ready. It'll be for $93,460.79 for 3 years. So, yeah, we'll be ready in 2
Don
weeks.
says it's ready to go. Any questions?
No, sir.
See you in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Update items. Number 1, building regs and fee amendments. Nobody here for that right now.
I still need to get that recirculated to all of you. I had a couple vacation days, so I'm a little bit behind in everything that I'm trying to get done.
Number 2, Rose Garden Estates, Unit 2, performance letter of credit expires December 9, 2023.
Not a whole lot of updates. That we'll have our punch list shortly. We fully expect for that performance letter of credit to be extended at full value for the next year. And then hopefully, we'll be getting done with that subdivision sometime next spring, summer, and these will start rotating into maintenance at some point, but we'll get there when we get there.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
Number 3, Ledgestone, maintenance letter of credit expires December 7th, 2023.
I think Schillings are still working on that one. Jack has sent me some stuff over the last couple of days I need to look into, but they've had our punch list on that one for probably 2 months now. So I trust they're gonna get everything done. They had some concrete work to get done on that, so.
When you're referring to Jack
Slager, yeah.
Summer winds, can you handle both those at the same?
You can take 4, 5, and 10 all at once if you'd like.
Summer winds, Unit 2, Unit 3, and Unit 1, performance letter of credit expires December 20th, 23, 23rd, 23, and February 15th, 2024.
Still nothing. I sent an email telling them that their letters of credit are coming out, getting ready to expire. Are they wanting to extend? I have not heard anything back.
The biggest thing on that is asphalt. They need to get that down before anything rotates, but they have binder repairs they need to do first, and we're pretty much running out of time for that this year. Plant's close in probably 3-4 weeks max. So it's a foregone conclusion they'll extend or we'll pull, because I think they're all reduced to maximum reductions right now.
I think so. I think they were granted that already.
Yeah, I think they're all down to 25%. So there's only 2 ways to go from this point, and we'll figure that out a couple weeks before December 20th and 23rd.
Wednesday, the public meeting in December, what date?
Give me 2 seconds and I'll check on that for you.
It is the 20th.
The
So we
20th?
would need to set full, the, 17th. Oh, I went to January, correct. It is the 20th. So for units 2 and 3, if we're gonna set full dates, we would either need to set them at our November 15th work session or hold a special public meeting at our December 6th, after our December 6th work session to set a full day.
David, do you need a public meeting to set up whole day, or can we do it at the work session on the 6th?
You can do it at the work session, set it up like tonight's is set up, so that public meeting action can be taken.
So yeah, if we don't hear anything until then we'll do something a little special at the December 6th meeting.
At the, work session?
Yep.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Okay. Number 6, 7, 8, 9, can you handle all those? Or
So
separate?
6 and 7, especially 7, that's gonna have to be extended because that includes the changes to the detention basin. Unit 2, I thought Jack said they were still working on some concrete stuff. McFarland is doing that. I'm not sure if that's been done yet or not. And then 1A and 2 in Beacon Central, which are items 8 and 9. Jack sent me an email the other day that they had completed our punch list from June, so we just need to get out there and double check everything. Hopefully those can be let to expire at the end of January 2024. So we'll have some movement on that one, hopefully next meeting, moving into December possibly.
Okay. So we got time on all this.
We got time on that, yep.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Can we have just a brief bit of discussion with Don about this? Are the items in Beacon Point Unit 2 inclusive of the drainage, the flow issues, the yard issues, the circumstances that have been presented?
I mean, Unit 2 does not include the outlet where that detention basin sits. If you want to say they're connected because they share a similar drainage system, then yes. I would say at least half of Unit 2 probably flows to that first basin off 141st. If you want to connect the two like that, then yes, they're connected. Depends how you want to view that.
Well, my file reflects a meeting was held with the affected property owners, homeowners, and engineers were present, you included.
Yep.
For assessment of the situation and conditions needed for resolution or disposition favorable to fixing whatever the problem was.
Yeah.
Is that happening?
There's a plan in place. It's going to most likely move forward at this point in this weather we're having right now. It's going to move forward in the spring. The contractor wasn't confident he'd actually get anything to vegetate this year, which I totally understand. And it wouldn't be prudent to do those fixes this year until we have the weather to finish it in entirety.
Do you think something should be held until it's resolved?
Well, I don't think we have a resolution yet. I think Don just confirmed that.
Oh, I don't think unit one will rotate out, for sure.
He's holding it in one.
Yeah, I'm holding it in
Trying to
one.
make sure we are holding
Yeah.
number one and which one it is. And I thought it was in Beacon Point Unit 2 that,
It's in one.
okay.
It's most definitely in one. So, I mean, if they get our punch list addressed in unit two, I don't necessarily have a problem rotating that one into maintenance. There's plenty of money in one to kind of make sure the improvements are completed.
Well, Kevin's here, and I want to make sure we're all talking the same. We're understanding what we have here tonight, and what's coming up, to make certain this gets done. Or we pull.
We're aware. We're gonna continue working through and hopefully have a resolution. Agree with Don that I don't anticipate work being done that we don't think is gonna work to solve the problem. We'd rather wait till the weather's clear.
So it's likely that's going to be an extended amount for performance?
I think it's unit one.
Yeah.
In unit one, I'm sorry, in unit one.
Yeah, unit one, you're holding. I'm sorry,
Go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, no.
But it's my understanding that unit one is where the bond is being held, performance for the detention.
Okay.
And that.
In Beacon Point East?
In Beacon East, yeah.
Yeah, that's unit one.
Yeah.
Subdivision limits, which includes
to the street there.
the detention basin.
Unit two and unit three are unaffected by that, so they can be finished up and completed.
I mean, we have the money in unit one to cover anything.
So that's why you're saying that will be extended, or should be extended.
Yeah, I think unit one should be extended until we address the items in the spring.
But we're not
That covers that, right?
Yeah, we're not quite to that point yet, but
No, but,
we have some advance with the way our agendas
Yeah.
identify it, so.
okay.
All
And
right.
I had asked Don previously, if they were gonna get that completed, and I've been over there several different times, and it's my understanding that they won't be able to complete it till the spring.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't want to do that much earthwork, and I agree with the contractor. You don't want to do that much earthwork, especially with some of the slopes we're dealing with out there, if we can't vegetate them. If you can't vegetate them, you're just gonna run into problems. It's better to complete it when we have the weather, when we're in a favorable seeding window, which will be the spring, and just doing it all at once versus trying to do some of it this year and then finish next year. It's just never a good product.
And I was also out there when the residents were there, and, all the residents all seemed happy except for one.
Okay.
Is there a documented resolution path?
We do have plans from Jack and DVG, with, I think, an agreed upon plan.
Is that reduced to writing?
Hmm?
Is that reduced to writing?
What do you mean?
I mean, is there
A
some
written
kind of
agreement?
I'm sorry?
A written agreement?
No, it really doesn't need to be that, but just some documentation of what is going to be done, what the solution is that the engineers.
Yeah, I mean, we have plans. The plans were presented to the residents that were at that meeting that Bob referenced.
So they're in a set of plans.
Yes. I think there were some small deviations as a result of that meeting, but they weren't major. So, and I think
Okay,
Schilling's,
I'm
yeah,
just looking for documentation.
yeah, Schilling's already engaged a Mass X contractor, and they've been out there, and that's kind of how we got to the resolution of, we don't have time to do it this year.
All right.
All right, what I'm hearing is maybe we ought to have plans presented to the plan commission and accept those plans?
I don't think you need to. There's
Okay.
site resolution occurred, the engineers got on site. I just want to make sure there's some documentation of it. And
There is.
And Don has indicated there is, and it's on the record here, so.
All right.
And everybody but one citizen was good with it.
Okay, number 11, Cedar View, performance letter of credit expires February 15th, 2024.
I anticipate that he will extend this one. Obviously, there hasn't been much movement there. He still has time in his building permit. Any building permit that's over $500,000 is a 2-year permit, so he still has well into next year. And he said he'll do the public improvements when he gets towards the end of the building period, so I anticipate this extending.
extending.
Yep.
Okay, that's in the updates. Public comment. Public comment. Name and address.
Okay. Barbara Orsi, 10290 West 138th Place. I wanted to make a comment on the proposed blue sky development. Has nothing to do with lot size or water and sewer, but rather the placement of the playground area. And I have concerns about where it's placed, and listening to the conversation tonight, whether it ends up just for the subdivision or whether it gets incorporated in the park area, I still have the concerns. First, there's three things. First, it is plainly the location, which is at the northern end of the subdivision, right next to, really pretty much next to 141st Street. So there's talk about maybe widening that in the future. So with that, I mean, currently there's a lot of traffic, and where the play lot is at the end of the entrance to the subdivision. So that means all this traffic is going to be coming in and out, turning left and right, just in front of where the play lot is. So I think you can see, or you can think about that, the more traffic there is, the more chance for accidents with kids playing there.
The park with the playground is in the center of it, it's not at 141st.
It's from, let me see.
There is a park space.
There is park spaces, but this
I'm
one,
talking about this one.
that's not gonna have any playground equipment. The playground equipment is down here.
But it's park space. Okay, so it's still a concern, and I think the concern still stems from traffic. Kids gonna be playing there, a lot of traffic. I don't think that's a very good idea. Second thing that has to do with the traffic is the fact that when there's a lot of traffic, there's also a lot of vehicle emissions. Now, there have been a lot of studies done that show that all the stuff that comes from vehicle emissions, nice things like carbon monoxide, toluene, benzene, formaldehyde, particulate matter, all those wonderful things are going to be blanketing the kids playing in that area. It takes approximately 500 to 600 feet from a roadway for the air quality to return to background levels. And that area is, I think, closer than 500 to 600 feet. So I don't think it's a good place to put a park area. We've got kids that are affected more severely by pollution, particulate matter in particular. Asthma rates for kids have gone up, doubled in the last 20 years, and we've got kids that are, they already have way more respiratory infections than adults because they're more susceptible to the concentrations. So that's two things. The third thing, and maybe this relates more to the areas where there are the playgrounds, and seeing that it's in a better location, I'm happy to see that, because I did find in the subdivision ordinance where it said that play areas, recreation areas are supposed to be in a centrally located area, so that everyone in the subdivision can partake of that amenity. So if you care about health and safety of the kids, put the park area and the play areas in a safe place for them. Thank you.
Public comment?
I would just make a comment to that.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, with the federal government ramming electric cars down our throats, there'll be less pollution in the future.
Okay, public comment? Name and address, please.
My name's Angie Michaelajczyk, 12806 Lee Court. I just wanted to make a comment on some of the observations here. The one that you said on Lakeshore Drive by where the Shanes was, that the speed limit is 30 miles per hour. right there, I don't know how many feet, it drops from 30 to 15. So there's people going to be accelerating and braking at the same time at that business area.
That's through the roundabout, it goes to 15.
Yes, but it's right after the Shane's building.
Right.
So I wanted to bring that to your attention. And then also I wanted to say that the Taco Bell's not open yet, but people like me, instead of taking a chance to get rear-ended on 41, I would probably go down Osborne to get to 41 and come back.
Supposed to be a right turn in and right turn out.
Of?
Taco Bell.
It's gonna be right
Okay.
in, right out only. There's gonna be nobody's gonna be able to turn left going south off of 41 into Taco Bell.
Okay, I didn't know that, I just wanted to say that. And then also the proposed business on Osborne, he said that there were gonna be little semi-trucks. There's no such thing as a little semi-truck. Typically, they're 8.5 feet, 9 feet wide by 53 feet long, maybe 48.
Like the box trucks, right? Like
Well, he said no to a box truck. That was it, that's all I had to say, thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other public comments?
Actually, I have one.
Name and address, please.
Hi, my name's Jennifer Acker-Punske, 14617 Blaine Street, Cedar Lake, Indiana. Actually, it's in regards to a tabled, if I can bring it up. If not, I'd like to find out if an EPA test was done on the South Shore Golf Course of Phase 1.
We can't talk about it
Okay.
because it's been tabled.
Well, I'm asking, so I've actually reached out to the EPA in Indiana for that information, but my understanding is one has already been done, so I'm just asking if you have that information or if we can start looking for that information. And I have one other topic. I read today in the Lowell Tribune, they talked about some of the candidates and said that the town council members were involved, because I'm trying to get some answers so I can decide who I want to vote for. But it said that town council members were very involved in the water and sewer infrastructure. In particular, Colleen Scheiben quoted today, Lowell Tribune online. And I'd just like to know the level of involvement. Where can we find that information? Is it a matter of public record? We are all highly sensitive to the water and sewer issues. As a matter of fact, that JMOB meeting is going to be very important. But I'd like to know, town council, how much are they involved? What is their level of involvement? Just so we can get some answers.
The town council is also the utility board.
They are on?
The entire town council is the utility board. So the utility board and the Art Redevelopment Commission are both chaired by your current sitting council members, and whoever's elected next year will also be sitting on those boards. So any utility-related decision, any redevelopment-related decision that's done by your town council.
So
And the redevelopment commission meets on the first Tuesday at 6:30, and the utility board meets on the third Tuesday at 6:30, right here in these chambers.
And I'm learning all this. So are they responsible for approving the number of homes that are being built? Because if they're involved with the infrastructure, I mean, I'm trying to understand that because
Subdivisions and plats are wholly under the responsibility of the plan commission. The utility board oversees the utilities, so your water, your sewer,
so the town council members are still involved, is what you're telling me?
through with the utility infrastructure,
Okay, utility meaning sewer.
sewer and water.
Okay, all right, just
So if you ever want to come and hear what they're saying, third Tuesday of every month, right here at 6:30.
Thank you so much.
Any more public comment? Public comment? Seeing none, public comment is closed. And this meeting is adjourned, and we're gonna move right into tonight's special Town of Cedar Lake Plan Commission, November 1st, 2023.
We're not done yet. We're going to have a public meeting now, so if you want to stick around.
Town of Cedar Lake Plan Commission's November 1st, 2023 special public meeting agenda. Do I have to call it to order again, or, yeah, I just did. Do I need to do a roll call?
You do, and reference the same roll call as for the previous meeting.
Do we do pledge of allegiance again?
You do not need to do that either. It's up to you.
So I just move on?
Could.
Okay, I'm gonna move on. Number 1, Beacon Point East, Unit 3.
Don't we have to do a roll call?
Just reference, Bob, that all the members are here as were at the previous meeting.
Okay. Thank you. I didn't hear that.
Number 1, Beacon Point East, Unit 3, conversion of performance letter of credit to maintenance letter of credit. Hi.
Good evening, Kevin Hunt again from Schilling Development, representing Beacon Point of Cedar Lake LLC. This is up for conversion from performance to maintenance letter of credit. We are in receipt of Don Oliphant's letter. I believe the letter of credit was dropped off with the town to convert this to a maintenance letter of credit.
We all set to go down?
We are. They have completed all of our punch list items in Phase 3 of Beacon East. This would revert the performance into a maintenance letter of credit for a period of 3 years. That value would be $42,226.69.
Any questions or comments on that?
No, sir.
If none, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Parker to approve, seconded by Ms. Deschauer. Any questions? Roll call.
Mr. Carnahan?
Yes.
Mr. Foreman?
Yes.
Mr. Hunley?
Yes.
Ms. Dessauer?
Yes.
Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Capora?
Yes, motion carries 6-0.
Thank you for your time tonight.
You're welcome.
Hey,
well-
Mr. Chair, I have one question for Don before you end the meeting, so whenever you want.
What do you want?
Hey, Don, for MS4, for the folks like Schilling Development, people doing the industrial parks, I know it's not you that goes out and checks for MS4 violations, but are we a little bit more stringent than other communities, do you know, or are you not aware of that?
I guess it depends. I'm not really aware what other municipalities do that we don't represent. The ones we do represent, we do have inspection programs almost identical to the ones we have implemented in this town. And we do them for quite a few other municipalities as well. So we follow essentially the law or ordinance, and we enforce them accordingly.
This is a federal requirement.
It is a unfunded federal mandate that is essentially administered by the state through IDEM and then through the town's general permit.
And who checks up on these?
We have a staff member that is, dedicated to do inspections throughout the county, not only for Cedar Lake, but other communities. She's really good at her job, in my opinion. She goes around and we're not contractually, but we're obligated to do a minimum of 4 a year. We oftentimes do quite a bit more than that to maintain construction sites within the town as much as possible.
On the federal government level, who watches what we do?
So, IDEM kind of runs the program in the state on behalf of the EPA. And then the town, we do certain, really a lot of paperwork to maintain a general permit. Every development over an acre has to get their own construction stormwater general permit, which the town is obligated to inspect those to make sure they're in general compliance with the permit that they're getting via the town, if you want to call it that.
And we've never ran in as a town any concerns from IDEM over our observation of MS4.
No, and there's what they call 6 MCMs. They're kind of categories of the overall general permit, and it's called minimum control measures.
those minimum control measures are audited by IDEM, you know, every so often, every couple of years. I think the last one we had, and they pick which MCM they're gonna audit it. So it's, sometimes it's public outreach, sometimes it's construction inspection stuff. There's a lot of other paperwork that we have to do to maintain that permit, and they check on us. So they'll check our inspection records to see how we're maintaining construction programs. They check on if we're meeting our public outreach goals, if we're doing, even from just a town perspective, we have to maintain certain facility SWIPs, stormwater prevention pollution plans, you know, at Public Works, at the police department, the fire department. So there's a lot of things that go into it. That's not just construction inspections. It's actually a pretty small part of it. So.
Yeah, there's been some discussion, we've been a little tough on, MS4, and I think, you and your, Christopher B. Burke all do the best of the requirements through the federal government.
Just because somebody doesn't get the same scrutiny and inspections in another community doesn't mean we're being overzealous or critical. I would argue it's the exact opposite, that municipality is not doing what they should be doing.
Spending $9 million on eco restoration in the lake, and we're all paying for it, and we should be strict on our MS4 violations.
And almost 90% of the sites that are kind of in our inspection queue right now flow to the lake.
That's, and I mean, I don't know what this issue stems from, but you say the person that does it does a good job?
I mean, we photograph every inspection. We complete a report for every inspection. I mean, it's photographic evidence to show that kind of back up what deficiencies we find. And if they're not corrected within a certain amount of time, we give everybody plenty of time to correct the issues. Oftentimes they fall on deaf ears, and that's why fines come out. We recommend fines. We can't fine ourselves. We recommend fines to town staff, and then they issue them. But it makes no sense for us to continue doing inspections if those fall on deaf ears. I mean, there's only some ways that you can get people's attentions, and that's fines, unfortunately. We don't take pride in fining anybody. We're pro-development in some respects as well. We don't want to hinder anybody from developing, but they have to follow certain rules. And sometimes fines are necessary.
Thank you, Don.
Okay, public comment. Any public comment on this session? Public comment? Seeing none, we're adjourned.